Cover 2 podcast coming at you live right now at 9:30 in the OC Rock Radio Studio. I'm Nick Nenad.
And I'm Jared Smith.
And Jared, we got a great show today. Lots of news topics from the Memorial Day weekend. We're going to be giving you guys an NBA Finals preview. We're going to be talking about the Stanley Cup Finals. We're going to be talking a little bit about Tiger Woods' crazy weekend this weekend. We actually want to start with probably something that most sports fans saw and wanted to talk about on Monday, and that was Bryce Harper and Hunter Strickland just going at it. One-on-one, mano-a-mano. Both got punches laid on each other in a unusual baseball brawl. You don't see those types of fights anymore, and it was, for me at least, it was entertaining to see. Luckily, I actually got to see it live, not at the ballpark, but I was watching live on ESPN when it happened. And it was crazy. I wanted to get your thoughts on it first, though, Jared.
Yeah, it was kind of refreshing to see, at least from Harper's standpoint. I've always felt that pitchers are in control of that situation. One, who is it to really say, oh, he intentionally threw it? Unless Strickland comes out and says that, are we ever really going to know? No, I don't think so.
No.
But we can all read between the lines, and we all understand that Strickland had some beef with Harper, and it's just awkward to me because, this all stems from 3 years ago, the 2014 playoffs, where the Giants ended up winning the series, but Bryce Harper ended up having 2 home runs off of Strickland in that series.
Yeah.
And there was some stare downs, and obviously Strickland did not appreciate Harper, kind of giving him a look as he's rounding the bases. But for me, it's like, if you want to do something about it, why are you waiting 3 years? I mean, you guys both play in the National League. You guys play each other every year. Now, maybe Strickland doesn't get a chance to face Harper a lot.
Yeah, no, literally he hadn't. The interesting thing was he hadn't faced him since that playoff series.
Okay, but still, it's like 3 years. Like, if you really want to say something, go find the dude in the, I don't know, in the locker room or something.
Are you advocating a parking lot brawl, Jared?
I mean, I'm just saying,
to meet in the parking lot,
I wouldn't wait 3 years to go plunk the guy. Okay, so I actually, I'm in Harper's corner here. If I'm getting plunked like that, 98-mile-an-hour fastball right to the hip, I'm going to go chuck him too. I will say, though, I was a little, I don't know what to say, disappointed with Harper's hat throw.
We have to talk
I thought it was going to be, it was bad form. He was obviously running, but I thought he could have gotten a little more on it,
his adrenaline was pumping.
A little more.
Yeah, his adrenaline was pumping. Tried to throw his helmet at Strickland. The thing went toward first base after he threw it.
Yeah.
Terrible throw. Made the fight a little less cool than it already was.
Yeah, because imagine if Strickland would have gotten hit in the head or something with the hat.
Oh, man. Well, I bet you the reaction from the teammates would have been a little different if he would have hit Strickland with the helmet.
Probably.
The one thing I had to say is I'm not 100% against Harper throwing the helmet on him because Strickland did just throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball at his leg. All that you could say could be reciprocated is a helmet to the leg, I guess, right after that. But Harper instead tossed it like a little girl over toward first base. So it made it a little disappointing. Made the fight a little less attractive to watch. But then these guys literally just duked it out on the mound for like 7 seconds before everybody came in. So it was cool to see. The best thing about this fight, though, is Jeff Samardzija and Mike Morse running into each other
colliding.
Head. Oh, my goodness.
Big bodies.
Samardzija thought he was a Notre Dame tight end again.
Colliding.
Yeah, forgot he wasn't wearing a helmet.
I mean, if they wouldn't have collided and if they would have stayed upright, I think that entire brawl would have been a lot worse.
He was going to lay out Harper with a punch.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he was trying to do.
He was running.
Little Superman
It was
punch.
funny. Did you see Posey kind of just stand at the plate, and he's kind of like, all right, I'm going to stay out of this one, boys.
Yeah, and Harper said in the past, a lot of people are jumping on Harper in the media about not going out there. Dude, I wouldn't go out there. You want to get in the fight with Harper and Strickland? Those 2 tough guys.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the only 2 guys that didn't go were obviously Posey and then Bumgarner.
He
was just sitting in the dugout, hanging out.
I feel like Boshi and the GM looked right at Bumgarner right when the fight was about to start.
Don't even think about it, buddy.
Don't think about it.
Yeah.
And he just walked out. Because Bumgarner would be one of those guys to be right in the middle.
Oh, I guarantee you. He's a big guy. He would be right there.
No, totally.
But no, very, very interesting, brings a little excitement to baseball. Obviously, this does not happen that often. You see, every once in a while you see the benches clear and you see the bullpens come out, but usually you don't see punches actually connect.
Oh, yeah.
That is very rare, at least in my opinion. By the time the benches are cleared, players and teammates have usually kind of separated the two or whoever has started the fight originally. But in this instance, we were able to actually see a couple punches thrown, see a couple guys hit the ground, and it turned out to be, for baseball, a pretty big brawl.
Well, the biggest story of the day, especially for Monday and Tuesday morning. Interesting note on it, a lot of people might not know yet, is Mike Morse is actually on the concussion DL now because of Jeff Samardzija running into him. And I believe he was just trying to stop Samardzija from, doing more damage to Harper and causing the fight to extend. But, man, that's not the guy you want to be running into and trying to stop. Another interesting thing, did you see the way Hunter Strickland was carried off the field after all of it happened, too?
I'll
explain. So after they kind of break up the two, Harper gets pulled to the Nationals dugout. He doesn't do much after that. And then Strickland needs like 4 or 5 teammates to get him off the field.
I did.
He's, kind of hitting Hunter Pence in the face to get away from him. George Contos, for some reason, is lifting up his leg.
Well, Strickland was jacked up.
Dude, he's a big guy.
He wanted to continue that and try to go after Harper or whoever else was out there.
I would, too, if a guy, number one, tries to throw his helmet at me after a fight and then actually does connect the best punch in the nose. Because when people do get hit in the nose, that's not a automatic reaction kind of punch. Like, you're gonna have to be affected. So a lot of times that makes people a little more angry.
Yeah, but listen, Strickland's the one that started this whole thing.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's
so
why I don't feel bad for him at all.
I don't feel bad for him at all. All right, yeah, you want to go and retaliate, or I guess after Harper came out, yeah, that's fine. But you're the one that started this in the first place. So if you want to be upset, you can only be upset at yourself.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, I'm actually just not shocked, but the way that these suspensions were handed down, I'm just a little curious as to. Okay, I can see Bryce Harper getting 4 games. He rushed the mound. He, insinuated or kind of egged on the fight in a sense. But for Strickland, he got 6 games. Now, I would be okay with that 6 games if it were like 6 starts. But the fact that he gets 6 games. And now, refresh my memory, is he a reliever? Or is
Set it man.
Yeah. So, okay, I guess that makes a little more sense.
Comes in right before the closer.
Okay, because he's not an actual starter. So, I guess in a sense that does hurt the Giants.
Yeah, well, I mean, realistically, they could use him 5 out of those 6 days that he'd be suspended. And they are appealing. Both guys were in uniform last night. Harper went 0 for 5, struck out a bunch of times, but They could have faced again. Realistically, I couldn't imagine Bruce Bochy putting Hunter Strickland out there to face Harper. I doubt anything would have happened again because Strickland kind of talked about before the game, gave a lot of cliche answers, but kind of said they dealt with it. And I actually think that's what it was. I don't think there's anything that's going to happen. They could have hit Harper last night. They didn't. Samardzija was pitching last night. He didn't seem to care at all about what happened yesterday. So I think it's over, except for the suspensions. And there's going to be appeals, and the suspensions more than likely will be lowered 1 game or 2. And I think Strickland could get it lowered a little more. But yeah, it's definitely going to affect him because although Harper would be in there every day for 4 games, Strickland could be in there for 5 or 6 games. That could affect them.
Yeah, and like going back to how this is affecting everyone. I think this was really just between Strickland and Harper. I don't think this was a team by team thing.
Yeah, they don't need to hit Buster Posey.
No, I think this was just like an individual. Strickland was still upset. I'm sure Harper, had some type of emotion, but no, I think this was just between these 2 players. Both managers from both teams have come out and said, there isn't going to be any retaliation. We think this was just an individual thing. They got their chance to fight it out, and now they'll deal with their suspensions, and they're going to go back to playing baseball as per usual. So I think that's it. And, who knows? Unless Harper wants to hit another homer and stare Strickland down again, I think we saw the last of it.
Yeah, no, totally. It was kind of like that, the third part of the – so like you mentioned to begin the conversation, Strickland stares down Harper. Harper stares down Strickland after his second home run. Harper says stuff to him from the dugout. Strickland hits him. Harper and him duke it out, fight, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So
Let
it's
it go.
like
Move on.
Yeah, exactly. Move on. But it was fun to see something like that, especially with a lot of people just watching baseball in general on Memorial Day, because it was one of the things that was on during the day. You can have that on the barbecue. So it's a cool thing to see. But I'm glad there's been no retaliation. There doesn't need to be.
True. Exactly.
So let's move on with some more baseball news from the weekend. A little more of some Angels news. Because two big things happened or could happen tonight. We'll start with Mike Trout, arguably baseball's best player behind. The only other player you'd say behind is Bryce Harper. But Mike Trout tore a ligament in his thumb, sliding into second base, and he's going to be out for at least a month and a half. And so the Angels, but more importantly, just baseball in general, is going to miss out on what was possibly Mike Trout's best year this year. He's leading the league in home runs, or at least tied with Aaron Judge in home runs, and now he's going to be out for 2 months. Jared, does this signify that the Angels are absolutely not going to make the playoffs this year?
Unfortunately, I think so.
Yeah.
It is. And realistically, I don't think either of us had that high of expectations for the Angels going into the season. I know that you said that they were kind of
needed everything to go perfect.
True, for them to even get a wild card spot.
This is the last thing you could.
Yes, you can't lose not only your best player on the team, but one of the best players in baseball.
Yeah.
And, have the team that they have and then expect to still win consistently. They were able to win last night. That's because they were playing the Braves, and the Braves are just awful. But for the most part,
Colonna was on the mound last night.
Yeah, but for these next few months coming up, while Trout is out, I think the Angels are really going to hurt. It's one of those things to where you have so many injuries, and we said it at the beginning of the year. Their pitching needs to stay healthy. Which it hasn't. Yeah. They've already obviously lost Tyler Skaggs. They've lost Garrett Richards, the two guys who we said they couldn't lose. And I don't think we didn't really think about Trout being out, because this is actually the first time that Trout has ever been on the DL in his career. So it's a bad blow for this team. And like I said, I didn't have really high expectations for them even at this point in the season. I think they've done better than expected so far. But I never really saw them reaching a wild card spot in the first place or winning the division. So this kind of just signifies that they will more than likely be one of the bottom teams. What's kind of more disappointing, and the thing that sucks for me, is we're not going to be able to see Trout in the All-Star game, more than likely.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
So, and obviously Trout has he's won, the last few All-Star game MVPs?
He won two in a row, and then I don't believe he won the one last year.
But yeah, okay.
Still he didn't win last year,
but he's still
producing.
Yeah. And hasn't he let off the last couple with home runs?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So it's just he's one of those guys that, he's fun. Like I said, he's one of the best players in the league. So not only are the Angels going to miss him, but I think we're going to miss seeing him for that All-Star break. And if hopefully he can come back, I would say around the August mark, but by that time, unfortunately, I think the Angels are going to have buried themselves.
And they're already missing Escobar and other key guys in that lineup. So it's not. And then we mentioned the pitching's injured. So it's tough for the Angels. But there is something to watch with the Angels right now, and that is Albert Pujols hit his 599th home run on Tuesday. That's last night for anybody listening live, anybody listening on a podcast or any other or on YouTube or anything like that. You might have already seen the 600th home run, but this is historic because there are not many guys, and I believe nobody even close besides Albert Pujols right now in the league that have 600 home runs. So this is something that we used to see a lot because we had a lot of the steroid guys and guys like A-Rod and Jim Tomei and Frank Thomas getting it close to 600 home runs. So it's definitely a cool feat to see, and I can't wait to be able to watch it. I've been trying to get tickets all day to try to see the game tonight because it is in Anaheim, to possibly see that 600th home run. But, Jerry, what does this 600th home run mean for baseball? Should people be interested, and what does it mean for Albert Pujols?
First, for Albert Pujols, I think this just kind of signifies his career. Obviously, I think everyone will, at the end of the day, remember Pujols for being a St. Louis Cardinal.
Yeah.
That's where he obviously made a name for himself, took his team to the World Series. And when he signed with the Angels, that mega 10-year contract, Angels fans at least had all these high hopes and we get Albert Pujols and all this. And I being an Angel fan was excited to have Albert Pujols on the team, but I just kind of knew in the back of my head there's no way that he was going to be able to live up to that 10-year mega contract. Those expectations were just going to be too much. So last year he hit 30 home runs that had over 100 RBIs. Now that's very, very solid.
Yeah.
For Albert Pujols, that may be
he died at like 250. That
right?
was the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem. So everyone is expecting for Pujols to be this just mega 40, 50 home run guy with 120, 140 RBIs a season. And that's just not him anymore, especially with the injuries that he's been dealing with. The expectations need to be tempered greatly. But for him, I think it just signifies that he is, I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
If he retired today, he'd be a first ballot.
He would, yes. And I think the other most impressive and great thing about this is, as far as we know, he has done this, without the use of steroids or even any allegations. As far back as I know,
I think Will Clark said something once about him taking steroids, but it's Will Clark, and he's kind of not the best guy to be listening to about this stuff.
So as far as I know, he hasn't really ever been connected with any allegations, unlike A-Rod and Barry Bonds, and McGuire. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's one of the best parts about this is that he's been able to do this. Fair and square.
Well, he's in that class with Tomei and Ken Griffey Jr. and Frank Thomas, the guys that
Aaron.
They did it legit. Exactly, yeah, Hank Aaron. Obviously, they just did it legit, and there was nothing to it. And Pujols, and this was you were mentioning that Pujols is not living up to his contract. I think one of the reasons maybe they signed him to that long contract, and it probably is the reason, is so that we could see stuff like this. And if Pujols were to somehow keep playing at this level for another couple of years, hit possibly his 700th home run, or break Willie Mays' home run record and stuff like that. So it's cool for me to see as an Angel fan, just because, like I said, we're not going to see this for a long time. I don't know if you can think of anybody, but I can't think of anybody remotely close to hitting even 500 home runs soon. So for we're kind of in a younger generation of the MLB right now. So Pujols is the last guy for a long time that's going to be breaking these milestones. So I think if you're a baseball fan, you got to be watching Angels games every single day, or at least watch Pujols as the bats. I know MLB Network and ESPN will be showing him when he comes out, but really try to pay attention because this is history that people aren't going to be able to see for a long time.
True. Yeah, no, and I think obviously Trout going down, that's a big blow. This is one thing that will keep the Angels relevant at least until he hits the 600th home run.
And that's probably why they gave him such a big contract. What's funny now is with some of these players getting paid so much, and people talking about Bryce Harper and Manny Machado possibly getting $40 million a year contracts. Pujols almost is playing to his contract now, which is funny. I think he's being paid $25 million. He's almost playing to that type of moniker the way the money's being paid. So interesting, fun weekend in baseball. I'll tell you that. And I'm hoping for a lot more. Hopefully, Pujols hits the home run as soon as possible.
I'd like to see him do it at home.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, and I believe they're at home for the whole week.
Yes, they are
too. So for him it would be tough for him not to hit a home run for a couple days.
If you're an opposing pitcher though,
are you
gonna?
They put a guy in last night, and the interesting thing was he hits a 3-run home run, 599th home run in the third inning. He came up in the third inning again. They batted around with 2 men on base, and they put a rookie in to pitch against him. And this guy, you could obviously tell, was flustered. I believe his last name was Jackson, pitches for Atlanta. He came in, and he must have just spiked 2 fastballs in the at-bat, and his curveball wasn't going anywhere. So he was flustered and did not want to let that home run.
Oh, no.
And that's the interesting thing. So Pujols is going to probably be walked a lot, but his pitchers aren't going to know what to throw him.
I think so, yeah. Pitchers are not going to want to be the guy associated with Pujols' 600th home run.
I believe my dad was saying something like, well, if you let it go, you'll be forever in history because they'll be showing that replay over.
That's true.
Yeah, the guy that gave up the home run to Barry Bonds, the record-breaking home run, I believe he's not in the league anymore, but everyone will always remember that when you look at that Bonds home run. So,
exactly.
Very interesting. Good for Pujols. Hopefully he gets it done so it gets out of his head.
True.
So, that's another thing.
So you can just continue
but yeah, so we will be right back. We will be talking about the NBA Finals and what's going to be, in my opinion, one of the best NBA Finals of all time. And I'll extend more on that when we come back from the Cover 2 podcast.
I like the Warriors to win the championship this year. I like them to do it in under 7 games. If I was just merely analyzing the teams without, the LeBron James kind of X factor or it factor, I'd take the Warriors in 5. But I think LeBron can get him to a game 6. I think that's about it. And I like the Warriors to close out the Cavs in Cleveland in game 6.
Stop drinking that Patron in that cup and answer the question.
I got the Cleveland Cavaliers winning the championship.
Because?
Kyrie Irving and LeBron are going to play better because they're going to play faster. I think they're in the conversation the best one-on-one players in the world.
Yeah, I'd like to tell you I'm ready, but I'm not ready to coach yet. I'm still feeling a lot of effects of what I've got going on. But with Mike being out, I'll take his spot after he took my spot, media-wise. I told the team that good news is the team's really healthy. The bad news is the coaching staff is dropping like flies. So hopefully Mike will be back tomorrow.
Welcome back to the Cover 2 podcast, live from the OC Rock Radio studio on this gloomy Wednesday here in Mission Viejo, California. But it's not going to be gloomy on Thursday because guess what, Jared?
What?
The NBA Finals finally start and the Cavs and Warriors finally get to play each other once again.
You mean we're finally going to get an actual interesting series?
That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Ooh.
Yeah, you caught me right on it.
Can't wait.
The playoffs start for the NBA this Thursday because this is what we all expected, and we realistically knew this was going to happen at the beginning of the season. But that doesn't matter now because now we actually get to see it, and this is going to be legit. I said on the other side right before we went to break, I thought this was going to be one of the best NBA Finals of all time. I say that because they played 3 times in a row. Not necessarily that I think the play on the court's going to be so unbelievable and they're going to go 7. There's going to be some. I just think because they're playing each other a third time, this is the rubber mats. This potentially could be the last time they play each other in succession. Not saying that it couldn't happen next year, but I think it'd be hard for the teams to get back to the finals for a 4th time in a row. It's the rubber match. It is who's the better team, who was the better team in the past. Kevin Durant obviously added to the Warriors. LeBron trying to get his 2nd title in a row and his 4th title under his belt, trying to catch up with Michael Jordan. And so it's going to be good. And I can't wait because it's going to be knockdown, drag-out series. I just can't wait.
Yeah, I do have a lot of anticipation for this series. I feel that with the addition of Kevin Durant to the Warriors team and the fact that he's now healthy and just a lot of things compiling, the fact that the Warriors are undefeated in these playoffs so far, not to say that that has anything to do with the Cavaliers, because obviously the Cavaliers will be the best opponent that these Warriors will be facing so far. But I think if the Warriors come to play like we know they can, and they execute the way that they have so far, I've been going back and forth between I'm going to just say it. I think the Warriors are going to win the series. And I've been going back and forth between 5 and 6 games. But I think if the Warriors do what they're supposed to do, I don't see how the Cavaliers can keep up with them. Defensively as a whole, I think Golden State plays better team defense. And when they do that, compared with hitting their jump shots, I think they're really unbeatable. So, unfortunately, no matter what LeBron James or the Cavaliers do, I think the Cavs have been able to get by without Steve Kerr. I think that's something that not a lot of people are maybe talking about and focusing on.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to throw any shade towards Mike Brown because I think he's done a fantastic job in Steve Kerr's absence. But I think in these finals, what did I say? Did I say Mike Brown coming in for Steve Kerr?
Yeah.
I did. I'm all over the place. I think that will have somewhat of an issue, but I think this team is just used to each other now. And I think they're going to come in and, playing the last 2 years, they've gotten to know each other well. They obviously played on Christmas. With Kevin Durant coming in now, I think that's the X factor.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And I did want to bring up the Steve Kerr stuff because a lot of people forget about that because the Warriors have steamrolled their way through the playoffs. And like you just mentioned correctly, this is the first legit playoff team or a legit contender that Golden State has played in the playoffs. all respect to Houston and Utah and whoever they played in the first round. Portland. I guess not much respect to Portland. But with all due respect for those teams, Cleveland's just a higher echelon team. And there was even some Eastern Conference teams that you could say maybe were better than some of the West teams they played. But with the Warriors, I think they've somewhat skated by so far in the first round. Now, they've done it with perfection. They're 12 now. They haven't lost first team to ever do that. But I do think that especially earlier in the series, I could see the Steve Kerr factor of him not being the coach come into play. They have had a lot of time off. Obviously, Kerr is still in the locker room. But I do believe, and I heard Scottie Pippen say this yesterday on, I forget what NBA show it was.
The Jump,
yeah. I heard him say this. He said there's something about the way Steve Kerr's demeanor is on the sideline, the way he doesn't panic ever, that makes the Warriors, or has made the Warriors the last 2 years what they were. Just a powerhouse, legit team that didn't need Kevin Durant to necessarily win a championship, and almost won last year if Kyrie wouldn't hit the big three. So I do think that Steve Kerr will have an effect on this series, but earlier. And I think if the Warriors can get a couple wins on their belt earlier in the series, maybe take a 2-1 lead, especially if they can win that first game, I think they can kind of move that out of the way. But I do think, especially when they're beginning to play the Cavs in this series, the Steve Kerr effect will affect them more negatively than positively.
So what do you think Cleveland needs to do to win? You know, is this on LeBron James? Is this on Kyrie Irving? What needs to be the X factor for them?
Well, obviously LeBron and Kyrie, I'll even add Kevin Love,
who's been playing very well. By the way.
Exactly. Need to continue to play their asses off in this playoffs. I mean, they need to be the superstars that they are. They need to be the big three. I also think Tristan Thompson needs to just play the way he's been playing. His rebound, his hard play, his tenacious defense. And then continuing on the defense, I do think their defense needs to be obviously what it's been against Boston, where they played really, really good defense. Now, although they didn't play too good in, I believe it was Game 3 when they lost. The rest of the series they played really well. And I remember I called them out earlier in these playoffs. I said they are not going to get through the second round if they play the defense that they had played against Indiana. They improved. When they went on to the second and third round, they improved and played better defense. And if they want to win another championship, they're going to have to play the best defense they've ever played, because there are 4 guys on the Warriors that can light up from 3 anytime they want. Not as much Draymond, but he still is a threat.
3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. That's very more correct. But I do think that defense still needs to be the top thing that the Cavs need to look at as far as trying to win a championship. But also, like you mentioned, those stars need to play like stars every single game, and most of them probably need to play 48 minutes in playoffs too.
Yeah. I would say the one thing for the Warriors that I guess they don't have this year that they had in the last 2 years is maybe the amount of depth on their bench.
Absolutely.
You still have Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, but you lose guys like David Lee, you lose Barbosa. Who else? I'm missing.
Mo Spates. I think Spates is going to be, if there's something they miss, it's Mo Spates.
Yeah, I agree with that, and
at least on the bench,
especially because Cleveland has Tristan Thompson, who really does all that dirty work down low, and I don't think Zaza is going to be the guy that's going to be able to control Tristan Thompson.
No.
Tristan Thompson to me is one of the unsung heroes for this Cleveland team, because he doesn't make those flash plays. He lets LeBron and Kyrie kind of do their work and take all the praise, but he's the one down low getting the offensive rebounds, doing the dirty work, and really I think that frees the rest of the team up to where they can focus on what they need to focus on and not have to force LeBron to play in the post as much. LeBron can spread it out and play more on the perimeter, which I think he wants to do, and show that his jump shot is there a little more. So for Tristan Thompson, I think deserves a lot of credit for getting this team to where they are right now.
Yeah, no, the Cavs, the reason they're so good is because these guys know their roles and they know what to do. essentially get the ball to Kyrie and LeBron as much as you can, and then get Love his chances for three. And that is a recipe that the Cavs will win most games. Because if LeBron is LeBron, and he more than likely will be, I don't see him playing bad in these finals. And if Kyrie played like he did last year in the playoffs and played like he did in Game 5 against the Celtics, and obviously Kevin Love continues to play like he's been playing, I think they'll win the series. And but all of that has to happen. Like we mentioned, these teams are so tight and these teams are so good that just even if one of those things is off, a team like the Cavs is not going to be able to beat the Warriors. Now, I did want to give kind of some analysis on the Warriors really quick. I do think the X factor for them is Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson hasn't played that well in these playoffs yet, and I think like the Steve Kerr thing, I think he's kind of escaped the scrutiny due to the fact that they've won every single game. So it's kind of hard to scrutinize a team that's won every single game in the playoffs. So, but I do think Klay Thompson needs to play better. And I think Klay Thompson needs to be a guy that's making 4 or 5 threes a game and playing lockdown defense, Kawhi Leonard defense on the Cavs. And I do believe they're probably going to have Draymond on LeBron, right? Correct.
You know what? I think they're going to do a little mix and match and switch.
They'll
probably start with Draymond on LeBron, but then the Cavaliers like to go small at certain points and put Draymond at the center spot. So I think when they do that, then you're going to have to see Klay Thompson, Andre Iguodala playing on LeBron, because when Draymond goes to the 5, he's going to have to guard Tristan Thompson or whoever else is in a bigger body for the Cavaliers. So I think it's going to be a kind of a team effort. I don't think one guy is going to be able to stop LeBron at all.
Yeah.
So depending on the foul situation, how many minutes each guy is playing, you're going to see a mixture of Draymond, Klay Thompson, and Andre Iguodala, I think, all sharing the duties of trying to stop and contain LeBron.
Well, but do you believe Klay needs to play a little better?
I do. I'm not going to be as harsh on him, and only because, listen, there's only one ball to go around. And when they added Kevin Durant, they didn't add him so he could come in and be the second or third piece of this team. He is the second or third best player in the NBA.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, someone's going to have to get less shots up, and I think that's been Klay Thompson this year. He still had a great year, and he's still done his thing. It's just when it comes to the playoffs, he's had to take a back seat because, unfortunately for him, Kevin Durant's on a whole nother level. And Steph Curry is, I think, still a better pure shooter. Klay Thompson is up there, but Steph is going to get his shots. Obviously, we all know Kevin Durant's going to get his shots. And so, unfortunately, I think Klay Thompson is just seeing somewhat of a diminished role. But I think where he comes into play is when either Steph or Durant aren't on the court. I think they'll maybe one of the first substitutions might be to get Steph, maybe not so much Steph, but Kevin Durant off the floor, get him a little more rest, maybe a couple extra minutes of rest a game. And I think that's where you're going to see Klay take advantage of his opportunities. Because when you have Steph, Klay, Draymond Green, and Kevin Durant all on the floor at the same time, someone's shots are going to get diminished. Sure. And unfortunately, I think that's just been Klay Thompson's. But listen, if they win the chip,
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Okay?
Doesn't matter.
All that matters is winning. So it doesn't matter who's getting those shots up. They're going to be taking those shots. They're going to be shooting threes. That's what this team does. They like to get up and down the court. It's just a matter of that Kevin Durant's going to get his. Steph is going to get his.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now I do want to before we make our formal predictions on the series, I do want to talk about the potential of there being bad blood in the series. And a lot of people don't talk about this necessarily, but when you got guys like Draymond, you got guys like Pachulia, who's had an incident already in the playoffs, and you have fiery guys in the Cavs like Tristan Thompson and J.R. Smith. Do you see this being a series that's going to get chippy, or do you see it being a series where they kind of realize that the chippiness needs to stop and they need to go for a championship? I'm not 100% sure. I kind of want you to lead me one way because I'm not sure. Because Draymond's going to do his thing, And J.R. Smith's going to talk trash too. But I just personally think that this could end up being a series where there's not too much chippiness because both teams really know that both teams kind of need to win this championship too.
Yeah, I'll say this. If I'm the Warriors, I'm not trying to get into a big-time physical matchup with the Cavaliers. I think if that is the case, I think that favors Cleveland because I think Cleveland's a little bigger, and they have more bodies that can handle that type of game. Like I just said earlier, I think Golden State is more of a team that likes to run up and down the court. They want to shoot threes. They want to play fast. Now, it's not to say that they can't play physical because obviously you've got Draymond Green, you have Andre Iguodala, you have some players that can do it, but that's not really Steph's game. That's not Klay Thompson's game, and Kevin Durant is built like a twig. That's not really his game either. So as compared to Cleveland, where you've got LeBron, who's a beast, you got Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, who loves the trash talk. You know what I mean? So I think that favors Cleveland a little bit more. Yeah. But I also think Cleveland can play somewhat of that up and down style as well. So I think Cleveland is a little more versatile in that sense, as to where I think Golden State just wants to stick in their own lane, run up and down the court. Now, listen, Draymond's going to get into some chirping. That's him. That's how he plays. That's his nature. You're not going to stop him from doing that. But I think his teammates understand that, hey, listen, we're just going to let Draymond do his thing. Yeah, if it gets to a physical point, like guys going to throw blows or something like that, then we're obviously going to have his back. But I don't think Golden State is going into this matchup saying we need to be the bad boys. That's not them. I don't think that suits them at all. And if they do go into this matchup like that, I think that only favors Cleveland, and that's going to give Cleveland a better chance of winning this series, in my opinion.
I completely agree. I mean, if it becomes a physical game, I'm not talking about physical as in like people, fighting and stuff like that. I'm talking about just banging in the post, less shots. 100% that goes toward the Cavs. And that's what the Cavs game is going to be, too. They're going to try to, in a way, ground and pound the Warriors, slow them down so they can't go in transition, slow them down so Klay and Durant and Draymond and Iguodala and Steph can't go running and, make plays. So I think I completely agree with you that if it becomes more of a physical, down-low series, it's going to favor Cleveland 100%. Now, couple advice for Vegas. If you want a couple prop bets, here's some couple prop bet ideas for as far as physical play. Will Draymond have any kicking incidents in this series? You could do a prop bet where how many techs is Draymond going to get in the NBA Finals total? You could do a prop bet of how many times Zaza Pachulia is going to get under somebody's legs.
Oh boy.
How many times J.R. Smith takes a ridiculous three. So there's a lot of cool things you could happen with that. But all joking aside, this is going to be a fantastic series. I'll give my formal prediction first, and what we're going to do here is we're going to give who's going to win and how many games. So my prediction is going to be for the second consecutive year, the Cleveland Cavaliers will win the NBA Finals in 7 games once again, back-to-back series going 7 games. I think Cleveland gets it.
Wow, you think they win in Golden State again?
100% I do, yeah.
Wow, okay. I am, if you have been listening to what I've been saying this last 5-10 minutes, I'm going with the Warriors. I think the addition of Kevin Durant has elevated this team offensively, more or less, just to a stratosphere that I don't think Cleveland will be able to keep up with. So I'm going to go Golden State in 6. I think they're going to win in Cleveland. I think,
that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it's going to be a little payback. Obviously, I think these teams would like to win at home. I think more so LeBron, to win at home. I think that would be.
If I'm not mistaken, did Golden State win at home the first time?
They
can't remember.
You know what? That is a great question.
They more than likely would have been the number 1 seed, correct? So they probably would have played Game 5 at home because they won in 5, or did they win in 6? Can't remember now.
You know what? I don't know why I'm blanking.
I'm blanking too.
All I'm thinking about is last year's matchup.
So am I. It's like because it's just last year's matchup was so good and there were so many memorable moments.
Yeah, but no. I think the Warriors
matter.
win in Cleveland in 6 games. I think I've been leaning, like I said, I've been leaning back and forth, and I could see the Warriors winning in 5, but I think there's going to be one game in this series where LeBron is literally going to carry Cleveland on its back and force them to a game 6. So I think,
So you think there's even potential of them winning in 5?
Yes, I
Okay.
do. I do.
That's
I
interesting.
do. But like I said, I think game 5, for some reason, I think LeBron's just going to carry that team, and he's going to say we're not losing in 5, and I think it's going to go back to Cleveland for game 6, and I see the Warriors closing it out in 6. So we got some different opinions.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
though.
not at all.
No,
Not at all. I think we both agree, in the end that it's going to go at least 6 games. And I'm honestly, really, I want to see a good series.
Yeah, I don't really care who wins necessarily.
No, I don't
because
have
it is the
anything towards
it
any
is
of these
the
two
rubber
teams.
match. I more last year I wanted the Cavaliers to win more because I wanted LeBron to get a 3rd championship. I like when the stars win titles. But also I wanted to see if the Cavs could prove that they were that they had a chance the first series if Kyrie and Kevin Love hadn't gotten hurt. So, but this one more is about just watching a very good NBA Finals. Because last year, man, that Game 7 was one of the favorite things I've watched in a while. So, we've had some good playoff series recently, or some good finals. Obviously, the NBA Finals last year was very good. The Super Bowl was unbelievable. I'm blanking on and then of course the World Series with the Cubs winning. So, hopefully these playoffs. These great playoff series continue. But book it. Warriors in 6. That's what Jared says. And I say Cavs in 7. We'll be right back on the other side of this break with another edition of Do You Care? Also, talk about Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is in the news.
Oh, boy.
So if you don't know, you're definitely going to want to hear us talk about Tiger Woods. We're probably going to make fun of him the entire segment. So we'll be right back on the Cover 2 podcast.
They finally scheduled his individual workout, and it's going to be a solo workout in that he's not going to go against 3 or 4 different top prospects. Sometimes you see that they'll schedule, 3 or 4 of the same guys that they're looking at because they want to see head-to-head. That's not what's going to happen when Lonzo Ball works out for the Lakers on June 7th.
Play some defense, quit worrying about getting dunked on. Guys do this shit every time. I don't know why. You ain't getting no layups and dunks on. So you tell them to start playing. That's why I hate when you get all this press. I know you're going to get your ass cut when you Jordan come in. You're not hungry. When you play basketball, you play for entertainment. 25 points is not entertainment.
If I say the name, Tiger Woods, they picture a man in that red shirt and black pants, Sunday after Sunday, winning a major tournament after major tournament. And then you see that picture, and everything you thought about Tiger Woods does a 180.
Welcome back to the Cover 2 podcast. I'm Jared Smith.
I'm Nick Nina.
And Nick, guess what time it is?
It is time for Do You Care?
Almost time for Do You Care?
Almost time for Do You Care. I was wrong.
You were wrong. I tricked you. I thought you were going to go with it, but you didn't. Nick is a little excited for Do You Care?
Yeah.
Before we get started with Do You Care
I'm
today,
actually more excited about what we're about to talk about right now.
We are actually going to talk about Mr. Tiger Woods, who unfortunately is back in the headlines for all of the wrong reasons.
Absolutely.
For those who have not heard, Tiger Woods was arrested on a DUI charge, and I believe this was it Tuesday? Was it yesterday morning? Or was this Monday morning?
It was Monday.
Monday morning. So it was Memorial Day morning in Jupiter, Florida, and he was taken in, and the picture that was posted of Tiger is just god awful. I mean, he looks terrible. Now, obviously,
I mean,
I've never seen a good DUI picture, obviously, but it's just it's really, really sad. The picture just really tells 1,000 words. So, Nick, I want to get your thoughts first on what you think of this whole situation and where this is going to kind of take Tiger from here.
Well, first of all, the interesting part about this whole story is, so he got a DUI, but he blew a zero. I guess it's fitting I said that. He blew a 0.00 into the breathalyzer. So they didn't find at least alcohol in his breath. They did say when they pulled him over that they found, or it did smell like alcohol in the car. But he is saying that it was a combination of prescription drugs that kind of incapacitated his mental state. I think he was with the boys and did a couple of interesting group balls or something like that, and took it a little too far and decided to drive because he wanted to get home. And the funniest part about this story is that so he was in Florida and he got pulled over, right? And so when the cops pulled him over, he apparently said, "I'm coming from L.A. going to Orange County." So that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense since he was in Florida. So whatever he was on messed him up so bad that he thought he was going to Orange County, California from L.A. when he was in South Florida. So he was on something, and it wasn't prescription pills. Okay, I'm just saying. As far as talking about, actually, I want to mention one other thing too. When they pulled him over, normally if you had to do a field sobriety test, you have to do the alphabet backwards, which first of all is impossible to do anyways. As far as for me, I would not be able to do the alphabet backwards if I was stone cold sober and had been.
You want to try right now?
Only no.
Okay.
Because I just embarrassed myself and it would waste a ton of time of the podcast. But but normally that's a part of the field sobriety test. But so when they asked Tiger to do it, he said, "Okay, so you want me to recite the national anthem backwards?" So which would be very hard, much harder to do for good old Eldridge Tiger Woods. As far as what it's doing for him, I don't know. This guy just cannot stay out of the bad limelight. They say good press or any press is good press. That's not true for Tiger Woods. Yeah. Because it was very good press for a long time while he was the best golfer on the planet, one of the best of all time. And ever since he decided to go out with 30 prostitutes and run into a tree and divorce his wife, it's been all downhill from there. And it's been injuries in golf. They're attributed to his swing, not really any of the other stuff he's been dealing with. And then obviously this DUI, where the DUI comes out and there's funny details to it. And he's pulled over at 3 a.m. and his speech is all slurred. So I just think for him, he needs to slow it down. My dad and I were talking about this too. He should honestly, in my opinion, go toward getting back into golf, but not playing golf. Get into like commentating or something like that. So you're around golf, you have something to do. I think he has too much free time. You know, he's sitting at home. He has a lot of money. Although in their divorce, his wife got a lot of his money. He was a billionaire at the time, or around.
He still has a lot of money.
Around a billionaire. So he's still up there as far as one of the richest people in the world. I just think he has too much free time. So I think, Tiger, go on the Golf Channel, work with CBS or NBC, be a commentator, take a couple years off of golf where you don't play at all. I know he's done that a couple times trying to get back, but if you want to come back, but just take a couple years off and get doing something, because I think he just has too much free time, and that's where this stuff can happen. Your thoughts on the whole Tiger Woods situation?
I'm going to take this a little deeper, and
Nice.
I
love when it gets deeper.
I think this all really goes back to Tiger's upbringing, in a sense, because for someone who has had
raised in Anaheim, California,
as much fame and spotlight and just, he's pretty much been able to get whatever he's wanted. I don't think no one's ever told him no from the time he, was an amateur up until when he became the best golfer in the world. So ever since the 90s, early 2000s, he has really everyone has been like a yes man to him.
Yeah.
And he's never been told no. And I think that's gotten to his head a little bit. And it's gotten to the point to where he's used to getting what he wants when he wants, no matter if it's family, friends, fans. It doesn't matter. So I think he hit rock bottom when the whole situation came out, when he divorced his wife and they found out he was messing around with those strippers and prostitutes and that whole thing. And, at that point, it was like, okay, wow, this is rock bottom. Well, maybe that wasn't rock bottom for him. Maybe this is. I don't even know. But I don't think he has completely learned his lesson. And another point I want to bring up is, obviously, it makes sense that he would be on some type of medication for his back, because that's the reason.
Obviously.
That's the reason why he hasn't been able to participate in any golf tournaments lately. We get that. What I don't understand is, this isn't the first time that you've taken medication before. So how do you not know how strong your medication is?
No, exactly.
And or how do you not know that you can't mix it with whatever else you were doing?
Yeah.
Right? That to me is where I'm like, there's something wrong. You either had some type of drink, you were on something else that you weren't supposed to be on. There's something that we're missing here. So yeah, you could have been on your medication, like you said, but how do you, the man who has had multiple surgeries on his back and has taken pills for his back for multiple years now, how do you not know how to manage that?
It's a very good point.
Doesn't make any sense to me. So I really think a lot of it is mental for Tiger. I think it's a big roller coaster. When he's riding high, everything's great. Everyone loves him. He's on top of the world. He can do whatever he wants. But when he's low, it's just like things just compile and get worse and worse. And what I don't have any sympathy for is, and this really goes for anyone, not even, obviously Tiger's a millionaire and can, buy and do whatever he wants. But in 2017, the world that we live in today, with Uber and Lyft and all these other resources, I don't understand why people even feel the need to drive when they're either drinking, on medication, or whatever the case may be. Tiger Woods, if I was Tiger Woods, I would hire a full-time car service, or I would have one of my best friends say, hey, dude, I'm going to give you $100,000 every year for the rest of my life. Whenever I need you to drive or do whatever, I need you there. I don't understand how hard it is for Tiger Woods to not have a car service or not have someone else drive him when he's on this type of medication. It doesn't make any sense to me. What, is he too good for Uber? Is he too good to have a car service? He wants to drive his own $200,000 car. I don't even understand it. It makes zero sense to me. What did you just pull up?
So I just pulled up. If you wondered if Tiger Woods could afford an Uber or not, or could honestly afford to have the Secret Service drive him around, he could, because his net worth, according to Bankrate.com, is what the hell is Bankrate.com? $740 million. So
yeah, I think
take a freaking Uber, Woods.
Yeah.
Or just like I said, hire a driver.
Exactly.
Hire
a full-time driver.
Maybe
the fact that you're going to be on these high medications for a little while, hire a driver until the doctor says, okay, you don't need to take those medications anymore. You can go back to driving yourself or doing whatever. It doesn't make sense to me. So on one hand, I feel for him a little bit because of his background, and I honestly just don't feel that he had that father figure in his life that was able to bring him up in a proper way and say, hey, listen, this is right from wrong. It was kind of like he was just in the spotlight ever since he was a little kid, and he's been there ever since, and he's been able to receive whatever he wanted. No one's told him no. So he's just been able to do what he wants. So in that aspect, I feel that he needs he needs advice. He needs a path. He needs some type of role model or people around him to say, hey, listen, man, we're going to put our arms around you and we're going to help you. We want to give you help. But then on the other aspect, don't be an idiot. Have someone take care of you, because now, you're not only risking your own life, you're endangering other people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's people on the road with children and families and cars. Now you're endangering other people. And fortunately, I don't believe he didn't hit anyone, right? There was no...
No, he was actually sleeping in his car.
Yeah. So there wasn't any type of accident or anything like that.
Yes, but the engine was running, so
yes.
There was the chance that he was falling asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
which is obviously dangerous in its own right. But especially when you're messed up on something, it's just it's different. But no, you mentioned it right. I like that you brought up his childhood, because his childhood reminds me of the childhood of a child star. People like I'm not trying to call out people, but people like Justin Bieber who came out into the public eye when they were very young. Justin Bieber did a couple crazy things when he was around 16, 18 years old, got arrested a couple times. But now he's a different guy. Oh, he's older, figured it out, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, yeah, exactly. But then you have guys like River Phoenix, who were younger and got into drugs and ended up dying early. So you obviously, that's Tiger Woods wouldn't necessarily die early, but it's still he's been on the path. He was on the path to greatness, and once that greatness finished, he has been on the path to worse and worse stuff every single thing that comes out about him. It hasn't been good. It's been breaking up your wife, addicted to sex, failing golf career, and now DUI. So, what's next? That's, what I'm saying? What's next for Tiger? What's the next step going to be? He needs to fix it. Maybe rehab's the way to go or something like that. Or, like I said, get into the business of golf again. Start commentating, being around the golf guys. I know Jack Nicklaus said he wanted to help him out. So that's obviously, if Jack Nicklaus is saying he wants to help you out, have Jack Nicklaus help you out, because he's a stand-up guy. I want to bring up one more thing about Tiger. This also might affect his endorsement deals, too. And that's what's going to get him a lot less money. He's currently endorsed with Nike, and that's a big one, TaylorMade, Golf, Bridgestone Golf, Rolex, and Upper Deck, and 2 other companies that are based outside the United States. So he's making a lot of money off those endorsements. The more and more this stuff comes out, the less and less these companies are going to back him. So he definitely needs to stop all the things he's doing. But guess what, Jared? Guess what time it is now?
What time is it, Nick?
It's time for Do You Care?
All right, now we can get into Do You Care.
Do we care about Tiger Woods? Yes, but that wasn't part of the game.
That's a big yes.
Yes. But so I'll start. Now I'll ask you the first question, Jared. Jared, do you care that your, I don't want to say favorite young player in the NBA, Lonzo Ball, is scheduled to have a workout with the Lakers on June 7th?
You know what? I really don't care. And first of all, he's not an NBA player yet. He's technically still a free agent. The draft is, I believe, the end of June.
True.
So
you're saying that LeVar Ball is not the dad of an NBA player yet?
No, he's not actually. He's not. He's the dad of a UCLA student athlete and a couple of high school athletes. Yeah. So, no, you know what? I think it's interesting that Lonzo Ball is choosing to only have one workout, and that is obviously with the Lakers. He has chose to not have a workout with the Celtics, who hold the number 1 overall pick. There are reports out there that Lonzo Ball is thinking about having a workout with the 76ers, who have the 3rd overall pick, but I haven't heard any definitive answer on if he is or if he isn't. So really, he's putting all of his eggs in one basket, and that is something that I don't agree with, even as bad as you want to go to the Lakers. And, listen, we all grow up and we have our favorite teams, and we wish I'm a Cowboy fan. I wish I grew up wanting to play for the Cowboys or whoever your favorite team is for whatever sport, right? So say you are lucky enough to get into the position to where you can be drafted professionally. I still think that it is right, just like in anything else, that you talk to multiple people. You go and work out for multiple teams just in case. There is no guarantee that the Lakers are going to take Lonzo Ball. Now, there's a lot of reports that are saying the Lakers really like Lonzo and that they're going to be able to deal with his dad, LeVar, and that LeVar will eventually tame her down once Lonzo gets picked. That's all fine and dandy, but until the draft actually happens and until the Lakers officially pick him, there's no guarantee. You've got De'Aaron Fox from Kentucky moving up. And then, listen, I'm sure the Celtics are doing their homework as well, and there's no guarantee that they're going to take Fultz, even though a lot of us assume that will be the number 1 pick. So, if I'm Lonzo, I want to go and I don't want to burn any bridges with other teams because, yeah, let's say you get drafted by the Lakers, but then let's say in 5 years you get traded to the Celtics, or you get traded to the Sixers or something. You know what I mean? It's like, or you're a free agent and you have your pick again of where you want to go. If I'm one of those teams that you chose to not work out for, I'm going to go back and say, hey, well, you didn't work out for us before. What now? Now you want to work out because now you're a free agent. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's just like one of those burning bridges things. He should work out for the Celtics, obviously work out for the Lakers, work out for the Sixers. I don't think he's going to go past third overall, so, but still, I think it's a bad move on his part. And I would assume that his dad has something to do with it. I don't think he's the type of guy that would just neglect these teams. So, but you know what? If that's what he's choosing to do, that's fine. I hope the Lakers do get him because he's a great talent. And I think, especially working with Magic Johnson, he will do very well. But
real quick, I want to throw a wrench in things for a second. So I'm going to do something that's never happened on Do You Care? And that's Jared's going to get 2 questions in a row.
Ooh.
Because I know what his answer is going to be to this question, but I have to ask him to get a reaction.
Okay.
Jared, do you care that the LaVar Ball coached Big Baller brand lost to the Compton Magic 109-58 over the weekend?
I do care. I do care. I think it's fantastic. I actually saw a little that
was the worst basketball I've ever seen in my life.
It was. I saw a video of LaVar during a timeout.
We're going to play it. If you're listening on the podcast version, we're going to play that soundbite.
Pretty much roasting his players, and it's pretty pathetic. I'm not talking about the score. I'm just talking about like how he acts towards the players. If I was one of those players, I don't know how you even want to play for a guy like that. He wasn't, yelling at them with vulgar language or anything, but it's, as a coach, there's ways to, tap into your players and get them to understand what you're saying, get them to play for you. And then there's ways to completely just shut them off. And for me, the way that he was talking, I feel like he was just completely shutting them off. And, they got outplayed by a better team, which is going to happen. I mean, are you going to get blown out by 40 or 50 points or whatever the final score is on a regular basis? No. But yeah, they weren't as good of a team. I mean, LaVar Ball, this is AAU, who a lot of people don't even like AAU to begin with because there's so many negatives and all that type of thing. But just, oh, well, you lost. What are you going to do about it? You want to kick and scream and yell like a little 5-year-old, or do you want to try to coach your team up the right way and get them better prepared to play the next time?
I'm telling you, it's the worst. If you watch, go on Twitter, or even probably you can type it in on YouTube. Just look up the highlights of this game. And I mean, it's LaMelo shooting threes and hitting the backboard on the other side that he shot from. And he's airballing and he's hitting the front of the rim. It's the worst basketball I've seen. What at least Chino Hills has done, I want to take a dig at Chino Hills and the way they play. What they've done to high school basketball in California, at least when they play teams, ruins basketball. I mean, the game when LaMelo scored 92 points was an absolute joke. It was cherry picking. It was like street ball, So they deserve to get beat by 52 because of the way they play. It's just, LaMelo shoots 30, 40 times a game and misses the majority of them. But because he jukes one guy out and breaks one guy's ankles, he's heralded as an unbelievable player. So, I don't know. It's very interesting, but I'm glad you did care about that because I knew you wanted to ask that.
I do care, but like I said, not in the sense of the score of the game. It's more of how LaVar is reacting with his players and that type of thing. I think he needs to do better in that aspect. Nick, sticking with basketball, do you care that the Clippers want Jerry West in an advisory role with the team?
I do care. I think this would be that next step of improving the management part of the Clippers, the front office. I did mention that I believe they do need to get rid of Doc Rivers as the GM, not necessarily the coach. That could happen too. But I think Jerry West would definitely serve as a mentor and a great advisor for the Clippers. If you don't know what Jerry West has done, I'll give you a little facts. Jerry West essentially created the Kobe Shaq era with the Lakers. And then he went to the Warriors, and ever since he's been with the Warriors, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green have been outstanding players, and the Warriors have gone on to be in 3 straight championships and are one of the best teams of all time. So if Jerry West came to the Clippers, based on that resume, the Clippers would be a good team. And he could maybe tort a guy like Chris Paul, where there's been rumors he might go to the Spurs, tort him back to come with the Clippers. Same with Blake Griffin and improve DeAndre's game. So I think this would do nothing for good for the Clippers, and it would improve their front office like I previously had said for them to do. Jared, do you care that LeBron James's house was vandalized in Los Angeles, might I add?
In Los Angeles. I do care because of how it was vandalized, and there's reports that there was a racial slur that was sprayed onto the gates of LeBron James's home. I feel like this is too constant, and this happens too often. And I'm just, I'm tired of talking about this, but it seems like this is always in the spotlight. And really we're talking about this because this is LeBron James' home.
Yeah.
So, this is reportedly still under investigation, and they haven't come out to say what the racial slur or slurs, was, but, it's just one of the things that like, why do you know it's LeBron James' home? Are you trying to get in the spotlight? I don't understand why someone would have to go and do that. Now, LeBron wasn't home, obviously. Himself, along with the rest of the Cavaliers, were traveling to Golden State to get ready for Game 1 of the NBA Finals. But this is just another instance of a stupid idiot trying to, vandalize someone's property and just cause more trouble. So, I mean, how would they like it if someone came to their house and vandalized their place? So I hope this person gets found. I hope they end up going to jail, and I hope they serve some time, because that's all this is. We're wasting time talking about this right now when this shouldn't even be an issue. I think it's stupid. I think it's dumb. Not even just for the racial slur. I think that just adds to it. But the fact that people like to go and vandalize other people's properties, I think is pretty damn ridiculous. I will say, I was just looking it up, and James bought this house in Brentwood in 2015 for just over $20 million.
Oh.
20 million bones.
There you go.
It's a lot of cheddar there.
You know what he could do? He can afford an Uber.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And I'm also pretty sure that he did have cameras, surveillance, which I would as well if I owned a $20 million property. So hopefully this guy gets found and he receives his punishment, because that's what this idiot deserves. Nick, do you care that someone threw a catfish on the ice during Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals?
I do not care at all. But it was interesting, but I do want to tell the story of how the guy got the catfish into the stadium, because people probably wonder, how do people throw octopuses on the ice at Red Wings games? How do people throw catfishes on the ice at Nashville games? Because this is a staple for them to do at home. Now, they were in Pittsburgh, so it did take a little extra planning. And this was a Predators fan that decided to waste his $1,000 ticket at a Stanley Cup final to throw a catfish on the ice. Now, he was originally actually charged with a couple of crimes for doing this, and it was actually potentially facing jail time. I just saw a second ago the charges were dropped, and that's a good thing, because although you're interrupting the Stanley Cup, does the guy really need to be charged? No, he's playing a joke. He's playing a prank. But nonetheless, I do want to explain how he did bring the catfish into the building. So this guy, apparently, he lived in, I believe it was Tennessee. So he's obviously a Nashville fan. Driving to Pittsburgh for the game. Pittsburgh isn't too far away from Nashville, Tennessee. Drove to the game with the catfish in his pants. He had driven over the catfish with his car a couple times to flatten it so that it would fit in his sliders that he was wearing for the game. He put air freshener in the sliders so that he wouldn't smell like death when he walked into the arena, because that would probably more than likely cause security to stir.
I would assume so.
Yeah. So he walks in. He went to the restroom I believe it was the first intermission of the game. Brought the catfish out, ran out quick enough for security not to see him with a giant catfish in his hand, and he threw it on the ice, and then was subsequently taken out of the arena. But the dedication, man, this guy went through to bring this catfish in, and to waste all that money paying for that ticket. is astounding to me. He did say it was a dumb redneck thing to do, and that it would have worked better if he could have ran over the head a little more, because it wouldn't have been so uncomfortable driving to the game with it in his pants. But that's not for us to worry about. That's for him to worry about. But very interesting turn of events in the second quarter, or in the second period of the Stanley Cup Finals, when a catfish was thrown on the ice. Now that will transition well, because our next segment, and our final segment of the day, we are going to be talking about the Stanley Cup Finals, in which Game 1 is already passed. Pittsburgh winning 5-3 in a very fun game to watch. But we're going to analyze the series and kind of give our prediction on what's going to happen for the rest of the series. So we'll be right back on the Cover 2 podcast with some hockey talk.
Back to Subban, moving in and shooting one. He scores!
Pittsburgh is challenging that the play was offside prior to the goal.
After video review, it was determined that the play was offside, therefore no goal.
Watson goes back for this one, and he gets there. Watson closed off by Mata. Pulls around behind, steps in front, no shot, score! Goodrow has tied the game at 3-3. Comes across now to Yossi. Tried to fly it on, but could not. Pitched on back and carried in now by Gensel. He scores!
And the first shot on goal for the Pittsburgh Penguins in 37 minutes and 9 seconds. Gensel goes top shelf.
And that's
it. Welcome back to the Cover 2 podcast, final segment of the day. It's been a good podcast so far, Jared. We'll continue it with some more talk on a very big playoff series, the Stanley Cup Finals between the Nashville Predators and the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Game 1 was a good one. And some controversial plays, some big comebacks, and interesting storyline as far as Game 1 goes. So we'll discuss that before we talk about the rest of the series. In Game 1, if you did not watch Game 1 of this series, the Pittsburgh Penguins took a 3-0 lead very early in this game, had the lead at one point 3-0 very early in the second period. And or actually in the first period, when they went into the break, they were winning 3-0. Nashville furiously came back, tied it at 3, and Pittsburgh got a late goal at the end of near the end of the third period to win it 4-3. They ended got an empty net goal, so they ended up winning 5-3. My bad, but a good game, Jared. And the interesting thing was, and you mentioned this before the break, that the momentum was heavily in Nashville's favor for pretty much most of the game, but Pittsburgh ends up getting 5 goals out of it. Why do you think that was? Why do you think that even though Nashville had so much momentum, that they ended up giving up so many goals?
It was really because of the power play.
Yeah,
and in the first period, the last 5 minutes, the Predators decided to get clumsy, and Pittsburgh had a 5-on-3 advantage where they took advantage and they scored 3 goals in a span of about 4 minutes. And obviously the first goal was while they were on that power play, and I think that's really where it all started. The rest of the game really was won by the Predators. I think they outplayed Pittsburgh, and that's kind of surprising me, especially with Pittsburgh being at home, having that kind of home ice advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew Nashville was going to come in, and they kind of had that never die mentality, especially with an up and down series that they just had with the Ducks. But still, they don't have Johansson, their key man. And I thought that was going to be a bigger issue than it really was. But there was a span of 37 minutes where Pittsburgh didn't have a shot on goal.
That's ridiculous. That is so ridiculous.
That is so ridiculous on so many levels. And the fact that it's the Stanley Cup Finals, like, I don't see how that happens at all, especially for the finals. That, to me, is just kind of mind-blowing.
And the first shot on goal was the goal late in the game, too.
Yes, it was. After that 37-minute mark. So the fact that Pittsburgh, in my opinion, kind of squeaked away with this win, even though they were up 3-0, the Predators came back and they tied it at 3 up until that late goal, and then Pittsburgh they scored their 5th goal on an empty net. So really, that one doesn't count to me. But no, I think Pittsburgh is going to have to change up their strategy a little bit more. They're going to have to find more ways to get the puck on net, because if they play the way that they did in Game 1, I think this series goes to the Predators. It's like I said, they had that great 4-minute stretch where they had the power play against the Predators, but you take away that power play and that 5-on-3 man advantage, and I don't know if Pittsburgh scores those 3 goals, and we're probably looking at a different game, and more than likely looking at the Predators having won Game 1.
Absolutely.
So
no, they would
obviously there's no moral victories, and a loss is a loss, and a win is a win, obviously. But if you're the Predators, I think you have to keep your heads high, because for most of the game, they outskated Pittsburgh, and I think they just played better overall. So going into Game 2, I think they still have some momentum going in, and I think it's going to be. I can see the Predators actually winning Game 2, unless Pittsburgh wants to come out and change up their philosophy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Very interesting. I did want to bring up one thing. We're talking about this 37-minute stretch where there was no shots on goal. The very beginning of the game, before Pittsburgh ended up scoring their goals in the 5-on-3, Nashville was also dominating the game at that point. In the beginning of the game, Nashville was doing everything they could to put shots on net. They were pressuring Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh wasn't getting too many good chances. And then the most controversial play of the game that may have helped Pittsburgh essentially win this game, in my opinion, even though it happened so early in the game, was that P.K. Subban scored a goal. I don't remember exactly when it happened. I think it was about halfway through the period. P.K. Subban scored a goal, and Pittsburgh challenged it for offsides. The refs reversed the call. But from the looks of it, and from every single camera that the fans had, and every single camera angle that all of the NHL analysts had, they said they don't know why. And I don't understand why. When I was watching it, I yelled at the TV when it happened. I didn't understand it. They don't know why the offsides was called, because it wasn't offsides. So that changes the momentum completely. Nashville had all the momentum, score the first goal. Not that Pittsburgh scored directly after that, but once you give them a 5-on-3, and not only a 5-on-3, but a 5-on-3 for 2 full minutes, because the penalties happened at the exact same time. So they had a full 2 minutes where they were just pounding Nashville's defense. It's going to take a toll on you, and that's why the 3 goals were scored. But this call changed the momentum of the entire game. Now, I'm not blaming the refs. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But I am saying that when momentum changes off something like that, you can get results like that. So I'm not 100% blaming Nashville for losing the game, because there was a lot of things that just didn't go their way at times that they absolutely couldn't. And that was the late goal, obviously, the 3 goals in the 5-on-3 power play. But it was just interesting that play, nobody talks about it too much. That play really, I think, won the game for Nashville, that reverse call, and because it changed momentum towards Pittsburgh. So a very interesting turn of events in Game 1, a higher scoring game. You wouldn't have thought that with Nashville's defense they would have gave up 5 goals, but they ended up doing it, especially with Pecorine goal. But you know what? When your defense is pounded for, I don't know, 5 minutes from a 5-on-3, it's going to be tough, and you're going to let some goals. But I do want to move on to what I at least expect for Game 2. I do expect Nashville to play the same way. I do expect Pittsburgh to come out better, and I think Mike Sullivan is a good coach. He'll say, guys, we should have lost this game. All right, we got lucky, we won. And I know Sidney Crosby, being the good captain he is, will come out and say, guys, we should have lost this game. So let's act like we didn't win it and act like we have to win Game 2. This will create a great atmosphere and a great Game 2. I do think Nashville needs to continue the pressure, but they need to even get more shots on net than they already did. Pressure as much as you can of Matt Murray. He still is a second-year player, although he's been in the Stanley Cup now his first 2 years. And Marc-Andre Fleury is another good goalie. If he were to somehow come into the game, you'd have to pepper these guys with shots. So I think that's the strategy for Nashville. Defense needs to stay the same, and obviously stay out of the penalty box. For Pittsburgh, I want to say that they just need to, like you said, you brought it up perfect, fire shots to the net, a lot like Nashville. But get in transition more. Try to get past this Nashville defense. On the power play, succeed like you did. They only did score 1 power play goal, but because of the way the defense was treated during the 5-on-3, these guys are tired. It was like they were on the power play for essentially 6 minutes. So continue with that, be efficient on the power play, and I think Pittsburgh could win the game. I am going to go Nashville, though, winning game 2.
Nashville?
Yeah. Nashville.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, even though Pittsburgh won game 1, I feel like the momentum is almost with Nashville because of the way that they played the majority of the game. I feel that they were playing better. They're playing more as a team. And like I said, you take away that 4-minute stretch in the first period, and Nashville would have won this game. So I am going to pick Nashville to win. I think PK Subban will have 1 or 2 goals, but he will be a big deciding factor. And yeah, I wasn't really impressed with the way that Pittsburgh played. So they're, like I said before, they're really going to have to change up somewhat of their scheme and their philosophy to be able to get past this Nashville defense that is still very, very good without one of their best players. So yeah, I'm gonna go Predators game 2, heading back to Nashville, and then we'll see how it goes from there. I'm not sure who's gonna win game 3, but for right now, I'm sticking with the away team.
Well, what do you expect? Because there's a chance series could end before the next podcast. What do you necessarily expect for the rest of this series? We've talked a lot about game 1, obviously about game 2, but what do you expect from the rest of the series?
So I believe that I actually had Pittsburgh winning this series,
yes.
And even though I don't have a whole lot of confidence in them right now, I feel that the loss of one of Nashville's best players really in the end will come back to haunt them. I think Crosby being the best player on the ice means something, and I think when you get this deep into the playoffs, he will hopefully be able to carry this team. I don't think he's going to let the team come out and play the way that they did in game 1, even though the first period they did play well. The second and the third periods really was kind of a disaster.
Awful.
So I don't see that happening again. I think as the leader of this team, I think he will make sure that doesn't happen and try to protect home ice. Obviously, we both agree that we think the Predators are going to win game 2, but I think they'll be able to go into Nashville, get at least 1 game, and then bring it back home. So the rest of the series, I'm going to go Pittsburgh. I'm going to stick with my original pick. I'm not as confident in it, but I'm going to stick with them. So let's see how they play tonight. I'm not saying that, they don't have to win tonight. I'm not just going to completely jump off the bandwagon, but they need to just play better for 3 periods. You can't play good for 1 period, and then, just because we have a 3-goal lead, we saw the Ducks in the last series come back from a 3-goal lead in the 3rd period with 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
So these, 3-goal lead is obviously fantastic, and that's great. That doesn't mean you let your foot off the gas and just, let the other team come back. Not in the finals. This isn't you don't even do it in the regular season game.
Yeah, exactly.
But especially not in the finals. This is cutthroat. You step on the person to be a little, vulgar, and you dominate them for as long as you can until the final score or the clock says 0-0.
No, I agree with you on that. I do believe that in some ways, I even want to extend on what I talked about game 2. This is in a way a must-win for both games. Not to a full extent, but Nashville especially. You don't want to go down 2-0. Because I do think Pittsburgh, they didn't play their best game, and they won 5-3. So they're going to improve. They're going to be better the rest of the series. So if you go down 2-0, you're going to be in a hole. Pittsburgh still, to me, is the best team in the NHL, just looking at any roster. But Nashville, with their defense, if they can play the way they played in game 1, even though they lost, they're going to win the series. And I'm going to change my prediction. I think Nashville wins this in 7.
Really?
I think it goes 7.
Wow.
I think their defense and the way Pecorino's play the entire playoffs, I do think that Nashville will pull it out. I've always said defense wins championships in hockey. The Kings had a really good defense for a long time. They won 2 cups. The Blackhawks had a great defense with Duncan Keith and Brent Seabrook. They won 3 cups in 6 years. And Nashville has the best defense in the league. So I'm going to go Nashville in 7. I think Nashville will win this series. But this is a way more even matchup than I did think. Because Pittsburgh, the star power of Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby and Chris Kunitz and Phil Kessel playing the star-powered defense of Nashville, PK Subban, Roman Josi, Ekholm, and many others. So it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out series like I believe the Cavs-Warriors series will be to tie in the two. But yeah, I'm going to change it to Nashville. But I do believe they need to win Game 2. This is a must-win for them, and I do believe they'll win it. I believe they'll win the series.
Man, so Game 1 had that much of an effect that you're going to change?
Yeah, because I was already thinking their defense was good, and obviously watching the games very intently when they played the Ducks. They did this to the Ducks a couple times. That's why they won the series. Their defense was the reason they won the series, and when Pecorine steps up, he's a top 3 goalie in the league. I don't want to say he's the best because there's a lot of other guys out there that are really good, but he's one of the top goalies in the league. So when you have a top goalie and you have top defense, in my opinion, that wins you a cup. So it may not be a lot of other people's opinions necessarily that defense and goalies can win you a cup. I've just seen in the past when you have that combination, it wins you the cup. And I'm saying in 7, so this could go necessarily either way in that last game too. Pucks bounce in strange ways sometimes, but yeah, Nashville has impressed me that much after Game 1, even though they lost.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm sticking with the Penguins, and I think they're going to come out and play better. And I'm still sticking with them, but that's not a solid. It's not written in pen.
Pittsburgh
it's in pencil. Let's put it that way. So exactly, they're going to have to come out and play a lot better.
Mine's in like a middle of a pencil and pen. We kind of scratch it out and make it look like, that's not what I wrote. Don't worry about it.
Okay. It's a scribble. Yeah,
exactly.
I got you.
So my final thought on the day is I want to talk about a little bit about the McGregor-Mayweather potential fight. I believe we talked about this last week. If we didn't, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. That McGregor's side is all for the fight. Now, I do want to see this. I want to see this fight happen. And it's because it's one of those things in history that you don't get to see a lot where two guys from different sports play each other and compete in something that they both can compete at. You can't have necessarily a basketball player play or an NBA player play an NFL player in either sport, but it's more than likely one of the guys is going to be severely, I'm trying to find the word, but they're not going to be able to be even close to that other player. You had a hockey player play baseball, wouldn't be close. But this is as close as you're going to get to two different sports competing against each other. So I really want to see it happen. Mayweather, get on it. I know you want a lot of money. That is the only reason you should come back. But, if someone's offering you $50 million, take it. Let's not ask for $100 million. So I'm just saying I really want this fight to happen. Let's get this to happen before the next podcast so we can talk about it. I just really want that to happen. Just really want to bring that up to in the podcast.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. I would love to see it. My final thought is Adam Silver, who is the NBA commissioner, came out and said he is not worried about Mr. LeVar Ball.
Oh, LeVar Ball talk again.
And so it's pretty interesting, but, I actually kind of agree with him. I think right now because Lonzo is obviously not drafted by a team yet, and he's technically just a free agent waiting for the draft, that LeVar, and even somewhat during the season has just been obviously very outspoken and, any publicity is good publicity type of deal, trying to promote his brand at any and all costs. And I think what is going to happen is once Lonzo gets picked, whether by the Lakers or by another team, the goal will then be for Lonzo to do his best to play for that team and obviously make a name for himself, because as we've seen numerous times, there have been, no matter what the sport, there have been multiple athletes who have been fantastic college players, Hall of Fame worthy college players, and they get to the pros and they just don't pan out. So I'm obviously not saying that's going to happen to Lonzo. I think he will be able to transition his game to the pro level, and I think he's going to be pretty damn good at it. But I think things will simmer down in the sense that once he gets to the NBA, it's going to be more about him, and all the talk about LeVar and their brand and everything, I think will simmer a little bit, because people are going to be more focused on Lonzo and actually seeing him on the court. Right now, we aren't watching him practice. He's only going to work out for one team. So right now, all the focus can be on LeVar. But I think once Lonzo gets picked, he starts going, they start playing games and everything, then we're going to say, okay, now we can start judging this kid on his actual play and not worrying about his father anymore. So even the Lakers organization has come out and said, we're not worried about LeVar. They've talked to UCLA and Coach Horford, and apparently he said, yeah, during the season, LeVar was hands off, let us do our own thing. And, obviously he's outspoken to some degree, but he did not interfere with the coaches. So hopefully that can carry over into the NBA because LeVar can do and say whatever he wants. At this point, I'm pretty sure he has his followers and he has people who aren't going to follow him regardless of whatever he says anymore. I just hope that Lonzo can go to a place that he wants to be. He can be the best player that he can be and really prove that this is about him and not really about his dad. So,
well, and Bryce Alford, his team at UCLA, came out and defended him when I forget what team he worked out for, but they wanted to talk to him for the majority about Lonzo, and he defended Lonzo. He said Lonzo's not like his dad. He came to play. He's for his teammates. He's a quiet guy generally. So I think that is the Lonzo you're going to get in the NBA. And I also think, let's say he gets drafted by the Celtics. I don't think he's holding out. I think he's going to the Celtics. I think LeVar is kind of putting up this front of trying to be this tough negotiator, and he's doing it with Nike and Adidas and with his shoe deal too. But I personally just think wherever Lonzo gets drafted, he's going to play there, and his dad, like you said, will back off, and it will be more of a story about Lonzo because I do believe he will be one of the better players that's come out of the draft the last couple of years.
True, and also to your point, the reason why I think he would go to the Celtics is because it's the number one pick. Now, I'm not to say that things
more
would
money,
change,
Lonzo.
But if for some reason Lonzo wasn't as good, and let's say he was like a second-round pick or something, then I think in LeVar's case, it would probably make a little more sense for them to push not wanting to go to that team. But when not too many people get to say they were the number one overall pick in the NBA. So I don't think you're going to pass that up just because you don't want to go play for a team.
Yeah, but I mean, look at this. Greg Oden and Anthony Bennett were number one picks, and they're talked about because they were bad number one picks.
Yeah, but they were still number one picks. Yeah.
So, yeah. Did you know that Greg Oden coaches at Ohio State now?
Really?
Yeah.
Good for him.
I didn't know that. Yeah, good. I know,
good.
Exactly.
I'm glad he's still staying with basketball. Obviously, his NBA career didn't work out, but it's good that he's still a part of the game.
Sure.
A lot of athletes these days are transitioning into that either coach role or some type of scouting or advisory role and staying a part of the game and kind of teaching the youth and bringing up the youth. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, and there are some guys that decide to go on benders and drive their cars at 3 a.m.
True.
And get pulled over for DUIs.
Yeah, never mind.
So we'll end podcast with that.
Great way to end the show, Nick.
Yeah, exactly. Great way to end the show. This is a fun podcast. A lot to talk about. Next week, obviously, we're going to be talking about what's been happening in the NBA Finals, what's been happening in the Stanley Cup Finals. Hopefully some more interesting baseball news comes out because this was a fun week for that.
Oh, yeah.
But Nick Neenan.
I'm Jared Smith.
And this has been the Cover 2 Podcast.